So, good afternoon, everybody. We have the pleasure today and privilege of having Janet Jones. Janet is a instructor for Napoleon Hill. She's also an author, a photographer, very, very talented lady. She has been commissioned to do a series of little cards, visual cards on the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich. And Janet has very kindly offered to do some training and mindset training for us over the next 6 weeks, where she's going to actually outline the 13 principles and help us all, because as Jim Rohn says, it's about growing ourselves, it's about growing our minds. And, the end of month training with John Kinnear is based on the Think and Grow Rich training as well. So this is an extra special opportunity to really, really hone in on that. So Janet, the stage is all yours. Welcome and good afternoon to you. It's great to see you here, and it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I'm guessing everybody can hear me, yeah, because I've just set my mic up. So we can hear, give me a nod. Right, how do I share my screen? Here we go. Host disabled participant. Brian, I think you need to make me a host. I'm getting a message saying host disabled.
You can do it now.
Okay. Okay, want to share that? Okay, so everyone can see that okay, I guess. Right, so in these next 6 weeks, there are things that I want to share with you about the training. I've been in the mindset work now, oh God, for a very long time. I'll share some of my story with you, but we go back to about the year 2000 on that. So in the next 6 weeks, I want to help you to create an even better life. And this is what you're going to get from our next 3 hours. It works out as 3 hours training. We're doing roughly half an hour per week. And one is you'll feel more confident. You'll have a deeper understanding of your true potential, and you will have a reliable visual system to success and a rich life, which is what everyone in this arena talks about. All of the above will guarantee to increase your cash FX business and the quality of your life, because once we get our mind in a better place, then everything changes. And it doesn't matter where your mind is, there's always room for expansion because the mind is infinite. So let's just go over the schedule. Oh, sorry, Brian, I don't know about you, but I'm getting 4 people are waiting in the waiting room message on my screen. Just clear that. So the schedule is going to be, so this week, I'm going to do a little introduction about myself and why I'm the one here talking to you about this. And then I also want to talk to you more about the thinking, because it's one thing to say, oh, you should improve your thinking, but it's very different when you understand what that thinking process is all about. And I believe actually it's very difficult to increase your thinking if you don't really know what it's about and understand what thinking and thought actually is. So that's why I'm going to dig a bit deeper on that in this next sort of 25 minutes or so. And then next week, we're going to start on Napoleon Hill's principles. We'll start with principles 1 to 3. And these are your basic winning mindset principles. Those are, don't move on until you've truly established your desire, your faith, and auto-suggestion, which is your inner language. So that's what we're going to cover next week. And then week 3, we're going to do principles 4 to 6. These are essential steps to take, because it's okay thinking better, but you can't just sit back and think. It's about the actions then to take. So these are the principles to take action in order to create that better life. And then week 4, we're going to talk about the 4 principles, 7 to 10. Now, these principles are again, more action and the fun steps. It's about making a decision and knowing what a decision is and how to commit to it. It's your mastermind. Well, sorry, it's persistence. It's your mastermind, connecting to the right people. And one of my favorite ones, which is sex transmutation. And that always gets people to perk their ears up, because to me, that's about enthusiasm and passion and purpose. And that's a great one to really understand and hone in on. Most people actually don't get that particular principle and what that has in having a successful and happy life. And then week 5, we're going to be talking about the subconscious mind, the brain, and sixth sense. So learning about that higher level of thinking. And for some reason, I've missed week 6 off here. But week 6, we're going to do lots of questions and answers and find out where you're all at, the progress that you've made in these 6 weeks, because, you know, it's a very, very big subject. But we're just going to try and do some little bullet points over these coming weeks. So who am I? I'm Janet Jones. I am the Happiness Millionaire, and I set my business up back in 2011. I am a Napoleon Hill instructor, as Brian has just said. I'm a speaker, I'm a photographer, a trainer, I'm an author. And so here you can see, I've just pulled out a few kind of pictures of my past. This particular image here, these 2 happy people, they are, in fact, Napoleon Hill's grandchildren. That's JB Hill and Terry Gok, and that was over in Malaysia. So I got to speak on Napoleon Hill's stage in Malaysia. I used to work with my daughter. This is my daughter, Iona, in this one. So the first couple of years for Happiness Millionaire, she worked alongside of me, and we went to many, many places, and it was all great fun. I got to meet Richard Branson. Well, there I am with my arm around Richard Branson, and all I could think about was how soft his jacket was. It's like, what do you think about when you meet Richard Branson? Like, his jacket was unbelievable. And for a while, my mentor was Robert G. Allen. I've worked with Sharon Lechter, and I've met Tony Robbins a few times now. And so I launched my book, Happiness Millionaire, Positive Images for a Rich and Powerful Life, in March 2017. And I then went on my book, I should say, won the Janie Loves Platinum Award. And Janie is Janie Lee Grace. For anybody who listens to BBC Radio 2, Steve Wright in the afternoon, then this is Janie Lee Grace from there. And she does her own kind of product awards and things like that. So I was a winner there. I've also worked with Brian Tracy and John Assaraf as their photographers. And so this was both in London. So with John Assaraf, I did 2 days with John. We did a whole day in London. And then we took the plane to Dublin, and we did a day in Dublin as well. And this picture here I've put in just to really demonstrate the progress of when you do change your mindset and how your life just changes. And so in this bag, in this suitcase here, this black and white one, is full of these pocketbooks. And you'll hear more about these pocketbooks in a moment, but that suitcase is full of those. And it was in the early days of Happiness Millionaire. And we didn't have a great deal of money, so we couldn't afford taxis or anything. So we used to lug these around on the underground, and people would say, "Can I help you with your suitcase?" And we're like, "Oh God," it was so heavy. Now, fortunately, coming back from Dublin, it was a lot lighter. So that was a relief. So this is my website. If you want to find out more about me and about my book and things, that's happinessmillionaire.com. I would say for the coming weeks, if you wanted to get a hold of my book, it will help you as we progress through these weeks, because I'm only able to touch on a tiny bit. So you can either go to Amazon and get the book, or what I have done for you is I've set up a special offer for the ebook on my website. And the ebook's normally $9.99, but I've done it as £2, just so that you can follow this really. And then the pocketbook of images there Again, they're available on my website, and those are £12.50 for a pocketbook if you want to get your own, and then you've got those to, again, work with as you go. I will warn you, I've only got 50 left, and I have no intentions of making any more just yet. But also, you know, Brian and I've got a little something to tell you, but that will be next week when we cover that. So I'm going to start by going back to when Napoleon Hill first came into my life, and I was in a very challenging state. Let me just keep an eye on the timer. So I was in a very challenging part of my life. 6 years previously, my dad had committed suicide, and it was very challenging. I was really trying to keep life afloat, but actually, you know, my thoughts were in a really dark and bad place. And so I realized I was going to have to take antidepressant pills. So I took my children to school. And when I came home, my intention was to pick up the phone, but I am so fortunate that the postman had delivered the post first. When I went to pick up the post, this booklet was sat on the top. It was the first thing I saw because it was in a clear cover. And these words just jumped out at me: achieve the impossible and break through to an extraordinary and fulfilling life. Well, can you imagine? That really did feel impossible. And so that was my first introduction to Napoleon Hill. It was a 30-day free trial of his audio tapes. I purchased them and I listened to them over and over and over again. And they were starting to have a small difference on my life. I could feel it, you know. But I wanted to know more about Napoleon Hill. So it was in the days when Yahoo was the main search engine. So I Yahooed Napoleon Hill, and I found the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and they were doing an online training course. Now, this was right at the beginning of, you know, like the internet. And so trust was not really established on the internet at that time. But I felt really compelled to take their online training course. And as it turned out, I was one of the first people to do their course. We had to establish what our desire was, what our passion was. And photography had always been that for me. So through Napoleon Hill coming into my life, I ended up going to do a photography degree and becoming a professional photographer. I set up a commercial photography business once I'd finished. And then in 2009, when the stock market crashed, so did my business, because a lot of my clients were marketing people and they were going out of business. And in comes Napoleon Hill once more, because the Napoleon Hill Foundation contacted me to see if I would like to contribute my success story to the path to riches. And at the same time, they also asked me to illustrate the book with the 13 principles from Think and Grow Rich. Creating those images changed my life. Like, it's not recognizable. So those images came into my life, and I found more people were interested in those than they were in booking me as a photographer. And they led me then to become a trainer. And I started to train on Napoleon Hill principles and training using these images. And that was when I branded that Happiness Millionaire, because I truly believe that happiness, wealth, is the one that creates the greatest wealth of all. But it all starts, as Jim Rohn was just saying, with thinking. And, you know, your thoughts are the most powerful thing. Nothing could exist without a thought first. Again, massive, massive subject and really intriguing. So dig deep on this one. But your thoughts can either be helpful thoughts or unhelpful thoughts. What I like to talk about with Happiness Millionaire is about moving from poor to rich. In order to understand how to become rich, whether that is financially or with happiness, you need to understand what poor is. And this is what poor, happiness millionaire, poor means, is a poverty mindset. And a poverty mindset is where our mind gets caught up with fear and doubt and lack of self-belief, and that the world is a small place, you know, it's not an abundant place, it's a place of fear. And when the mind gets caught up in that, life becomes very overwhelming. Now, I believe that most people will go on this journey at some point throughout their life, will experience life becoming overwhelming. When life is overwhelming, it starts to get off balance. And it's at this point we need to regain the balance of our life, because if we don't, it's a matter of time before we have regrets. Now, that could be regrets of a relationship or your job, or, you know, major regrets such as my dad. So these are really essential to understand what is going on in your mind or the mind of your loved ones, because the ultimate goal is to become happiness millionaire rich. So happiness millionaire rich means to become rich in your relationships, cultivating great relationships, your personal ones, your business ones, you know, the companies that have great relationships with their customers, they are the ones that win. And then it's about having income, but not just money income. It's about recognizing all kinds of things that come into your life. That's what income means. But obviously money is also a very important part of the income part of Happiness Millionaire Rich. And then we feel more confident. When we have a rich mindset, then confidence becomes part of us as opposed to fear. And I believe that when we have those things in place, we automatically want to take better care of our health, and ultimately we are happier. There you go. That's Happiness Millionaire Rich. So how do we get there? Oh, sorry, I'm not clicking. Click. There we go. We get there by identifying where you are now. So where are you on the poor rich scale? And excuse me, the one way you can find that out is within the ebook, then the ebook with the offer that I've just put together for you. There is a rich life assessment. So it's a question sheet where it's just yes and no questions. And it will give you a sort of a percentage at the end to let you know where you currently are, because it's like every journey in life. You can only get to where you are going when you know where you currently are. I don't know. There we go. Okay, so you're going to go off and do the assessment. Now, I remember one time somebody very close to me once said, if you can't change something, change the way you think about it. Now, that is brilliant advice. But what do you do if you don't understand thinking? What do you do if you go, yeah, okay, I need to change my thinking, but actually, I don't actually know what's wrong with my thinking. So here's a chart that explains what happens with thought. It's very simple, easy to remember. So scribble it down, you know, and then you can come back to this.
Sorry, Janet, you're muted. If you can unmute yourself, please. I don't know how that happened.
Okay, Janet, I'm back.
That's it. Great. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so here's this chart. Again, just scribble it down because it's really worth referencing. And so all thoughts create an image. Now we have approximately 60,000 thoughts per day. So your brain is really busy, but all thought creates an image. It's the image in the mind that then creates an emotion, and we are emotional beings. So the emotion then enables us to take an action, and the action creates an experience. So it's the experience then that comes right back and feeds your thoughts with more images. And this is like a cycle that we are constantly going through. But what do we do if these thoughts are not getting us the life we really want? We need to understand this a little bit more. At the back of your brain is your visual cortex. Your visual cortex is 500 million brain cells, and they've been with you from day one. So it's a very packed part of your brain that is packed with data from everything that you've seen, everything that you've experienced, every thought that you've had that has created an emotion, that's made you take an action, that's created an experience, gets fed right back into your visual cortex. Also, the information that comes in through your eye, it enters into the thalamus. The thalamus is like a signpost. So it points things in the direction. Is something going to go to the visual? Is it going to memory? Those kind of things. What comes into your eye goes to your thalamus and is then sent to your visual cortex. And all of this information is stored in there. And this is the magic, and why using these images to learn Napoleon Hill's principles is incredibly powerful. Basically, your eyes are going to see these images, and when you see them, they will trigger an emotion, and that emotion will have you take an action. You'll automatically start taking different actions, and you will then get different experiences, which will then go right into your visual cortex in order to make your life even better than it currently is. And the other great thing is this part of your brain will store these images and all the messages that are in them. And over these coming weeks, we're going to be sort of digging into each image and what they mean to you. Because it's no good, they mean one thing to me and they inspire me in a certain way for me to take actions on my life and what I want my life to be like. But you and I are very different people. And so they will trigger completely different emotions with you and have you take very different actions. So I'm really excited to see what these images do for you and your business and your personal life. And I really hope over the weeks we get to know one another and that you share this information with me and we can all grow together. So I'm just going to wrap that up. We'll have a quick recap because I know I've blasted through what thinking is there. So like I say, my book explains it in much greater detail. So we started off with understanding what poor means. And if we were in a classroom right now, I would be asking you, but it's just me. So here we go. So poor is having a poverty mindset, your life feeling overwhelmed, your life getting off balance, and then leading into regrets. And nobody wants that. We want to become happiness millionaire rich. You want to have great relationships, great income, great confidence, and then health. And I believe that this is where Cash FX really comes in. And actually, this is why I became involved with Cash FX, because it matches everything else that I'm doing. So I hope you can, start to see that connection. We talked about thought and thought having this energy to it, and that thoughts are either helpful or unhelpful. And then we learned a little bit more about what the thought actually is, that your thoughts, they will create an image in your mind. You might not always see it, because if we have 60,000 per day, you don't want to see 60,000 thoughts in your mind. You go crazy. But they are happening and they are influencing you to have an emotion, to take the action, and you are having experiences from all actions that you take, whether it's like, oh, I can't be bothered, and you sit and put the TV on, well, that is still an experience that is feeding your mind. But that isn't going to get you that better life that I'm talking about, that Jim Rohn is talking about, that Napoleon Hill talks about. So we need to change those kind of things. And we do that by feeding our visual cortex this new information based on a time-tested system that I believe can help anybody with anything. So next week, we're going to cover these 3 images. We start off with this rock climbing image, which is your desire. We're going to dig deep with what desire is. And it's not necessarily what do I want. It's a deeper feeling than what I want. And then we have the faith principle, that inner strength that you get from truly believing in something. And then this image with the walking over hot coals is your auto-suggestion. And auto-suggestion is the language that we use in our mind. If these two principles are out of line with this one, out of line with desire, you will be stuck. That you can't actually move anything forward. So these 2 are really crucial. And this is your fundamental mindset. And once we've got that in place, you can move and you can create anything. I believe you can create anything. That's your full potential. So if you want to connect, if you go over to happinessmillionaire.com, I am on Facebook, and I do have a Facebook group actually, and it's called Happiness Millionaire Club UK. So if you want to come and join that group, then do come along and join that. I'll let you in. I'm not really a big social media person because I find it consumes such a lot of my time. I like to focus on this and get my message out through my website. So that's the best way to contact me. Do go and get your Happiness Millionaire ebook, and so that you can follow this course over this next 6 weeks. So that's me. I'm Janet Jones, and I'm the Happiness Millionaire. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks, Brian.